Hi, it's Jeff Altman, the Big Game Hunter, and welcome to Career Coach Office Hours. Tuesdays at noon Eastern, I like to take a little bit of time answering questions from job hunters because I believe job hunting doesn't have to be as hard, difficult, or painful, or take as long as it does. It's just the skills needed to find a job are different from those needed to do a job. So if you've got a question about your job search, put your questions into chat so I can answer them live, okay? I also want to encourage you, connect with me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/in/thebiggamehunter. Mention that you watch this. I like knowing I'm helping some folks. And once we're connected, your network is going to be a lot larger because I was amongst the first 10,000 people on LinkedIn. So my network tends to be a lot larger than most people. So reach out to me to try and connect on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/in/thebiggamehunter. Okay. Also going to mention my website, thebiggamehunter.us, where I've got a ton available in the blog to help you. Plus there's information about my video courses, books, guides to job hunting. There's a lot there to help you, inexpensively priced, all designed to help you land your next role. So again, that's thebiggamehunter.us. Now, here we are. It's the middle of December 2024. It's the 10th of December to be exact. And what I want to remind you of is that somewhere between now and the new year, I want you to spend a little bit of time doing two things. Number one is update your resume. Make sure it's the best possible representation of you and the work that you've done, particularly the recent work. Number two is take a look at your LinkedIn profile. Same thing there. Make sure it's the best possible representation of you and your work. As I like to tell people, resumes are for when you're the hunter. LinkedIn is for when you want to be hunted. And although, yes, you can reach out to companies on LinkedIn, the advantage that you have on that platform is that companies and recruiters can reach out to you as well. So take the time to look for keywords to optimize your LinkedIn profile, keywords that firms search for in order to find people like you. And that's going to help you. And given the fact that for most of you, you'll have a little bit of downtime between now and the beginning of the year, use that time well. Also, practice answers to predictable interview questions. If you have an interview scheduled, use this question to prepare for it. If I were them interviewing me today for this role, what would I ask me in order to figure out whether I was qualified? What would I want to know about my background that would help me feel qualified? All of these together between now and the beginning of 2025 are going to help you. And the truth is, they'll help you at any point in your job search. So take the time between now and the beginning of the new year to refresh so that in this way you can get more of the results that you want. Okay? Now, again, if you've got a question for me, put it in the chat so I can answer it live, okay? And I received a number of questions in advance. And by the way, I forgot to mention, this is the last show for 2024. My wife is having surgery next Tuesday. It's open heart surgery, so it's not exactly, a blemish on her face. It's opening her up and doing work on her that's pretty severe. So I'm going to spend the next couple of weeks with her. So no shows on Tuesday until January 7th, I believe it is. And wish me luck, okay? Now, I received questions from people in advance of the show. And the first one I received was, I got rejected after a job interview. I asked when to reapply, and the recruiter said there's no minimum time. Is this a hint to reapply immediately, or should I wait? Why would you reapply when you just got rejected? what has changed between yesterday and today, to use that as an example. Thank you, by the way. Thank you, Christine. I appreciate it. What has happened between yesterday and today that's going to result in a change for you? Rosalia, thank you. It's nice to know there are fans out there. Brian, thank you. Thank you so much, folks. Thank you. So, between yesterday and today, between then and now, what has changed that's going to prompt you to want to reapply? You got rejected for a job that you were qualified for. You haven't told me a new position in a different group has opened up. There's no difference. So why would you reapply? Seriously, why would you reapply? Makes no sense. So give it a little bit of time. Look to see if another position opens up for which you're qualified. Then reapply. Or then contact the corporate recruiter to see what they think, whether based upon the feedback that they received from group number one, whether they think you might be a strong candidate for group number two. That's the way to play it, okay? Folks, you've touched me. Thank you so much. Next question from someone, and by the way, if you're watching, don't hesitate to put a question in the chat. I don't bite, honest. All these years I've been doing this live stream, I've yet to bite anyone. So if you've got a question, don't hesitate to put it into chat, okay? Next one is it acceptable to combine two similar jobs into one listing on a resume? Yes, with this proviso. What you can do is, I'm just going to make up, with my own company as being one of the options. Let's say it's the Big Game Hunter, and it's the dates of employment, and I'm currently there. Okay, so let's say it's 2022 to present, and underneath it, there's another company name, 2020 to 2022, just for the sake of argument. Underneath that, and I've seen recruiters do that with their own resumes because the jobs were not distinctly different, and thus the person would describe their responsibilities for the two firms identically, and signal that this is what they've done in both organizations. So it is possible to do it, but take a minute to think of distinct differences between the two firms and what you did for them, so that in this way, you might be able to differentiate them. Now, again, in some jobs, you've done the exact same thing. This is going to be a ludicrous example, but you're a hot dog vendor at Yankee Stadium, and then you're a hot dog vendor at Citi Field. The job is the same, okay? You could combine those into, Yankee Stadium, 2020 to 2022, Citi Field, 2022 to present. You could do that, but most jobs do have some differences between them. Take the time to think about them. Maybe there were special projects that you did at one firm and not the other. Think of the distinct differences and identify them, particularly with an eye toward the more current position, because firms tend to zero in on the current role more than they do an older one. So take a little time to reflect on it. But to answer your basic question, yes, you can combine them, but identify them on both your resume and your LinkedIn profile so that you're not perceived as trying to trick someone, okay? Here we go. Another question for me, I should say, is, what if you manage to answer 2 questions in an interview with 3 questions? What is this? Can you top this? You answered 2 questions. Now you're asking them 3. There's a way to do this. So, for example, in a case where they ask you about your management style, and that you answer the question, and then you turn around and say, and how would you describe your management style? Interesting. And then you follow up with that. And then they ask you another question. I can't think of one right now, but let's say it's the salary question. How much are you looking for? I'm looking for X number of dollars. Is that within your budget? And that becomes a way that you're able to ask 3 questions when they've only asked 2. But most of the time, that's not what we're talking about. We're not talking about that degree of certainty or sincerity in the questions. What we're talking about is an immature question where someone's playing, can you top this? And they're trying to be even better. So the question is, Shanna, yes, it is recorded. It'll be available on LinkedIn and YouTube. Save the link for LinkedIn. It'll be available at the JobSearchTV channel on YouTube. So youtube.com/@JobSearchTV. And it'll be in the folder for live events. So yes, it is being recorded, okay? So coming back to the question, you can do it, but don't be goofy with it. Don't ask immature questions so that you come across as being a jerk. You always want to present yourself professionally and effectively, even on an interview. So the long and the short of it is, yes, there's a way to do it. And take the time to think about it in advance as to whether you should do it, except in examples like I just gave. Okay? So I'll just remind you, if you've got a question for me, put your question about job search into chat so I can answer it live. Also, connect with me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/IN/thebiggamehunter. I'll also mention, I didn't do this at the top of this, but job hunting is hard. And sometimes you just need someone to talk to about your job search. Maybe it's just the vent. Maybe you're thinking of hiring a coach. I don't know. But I have an option at thebiggamehunter.us where you can schedule time for a free discovery call. You can also schedule time for coaching while you're there as well. But if you need to vent because you've been treated badly in the search, maybe you're being ghosted regularly or you're sending out resumes and you're just not getting results, schedule time for a free discovery call with me there, okay? Also, I have another site at jobsearch.community where I have some free content available on the homepage, including a video about how to do a great elevator pitch. I used to hate elevator pitches, but frankly, this is a good model that I think is very effective. I have like 6 or 7, I think, items that are up there for free. And all my video courses, books, and guides are also there for one low price per month. So if you choose to become an insider, it's all available to you. If not, mainly the free stuff is there for you. But again, that's at jobsearch.community. What else? Let's see now. More questions I received. Bear with me for a second while I scroll. There we go. Jason asks, do we need to mention a number for salary? Can we say based on job duties and responsibilities and fair market value, I hope to be paid fairly? They're going to push you for a number, Jason. That's the reality to it. Now, normally when I coach people about the salary question, let me just work with the notion that you're in a part of the world or a part of the United States where they cannot ask you what you're currently earning. If they can, you'll need to answer that question, because my experience has always been that they'll end the interview if you don't answer that question. However, in much of the United States now, that's no longer a legal question. They can ask you what you're looking for. And the way I normally encourage people to respond to that is by saying, it's a little too early for me to answer that. after all, I haven't met my future manager, haven't met the team. I've just read a job ad. I don't have a sense of role and responsibilities directly from the horse's mouth, what their expectations are. Can I answer that on another occasion? And by the way, what's the salary range for the role? And that becomes a way that you can hear it first before committing to a number. Now, once they answer, they'll probably ask you, does that work for you? At which point you pause for a second and go, well, the high end of the range does. Yeah, I can work with that. And you can always adjust later on. But if they push you to answer the question, there's something else that you can do. And that is, give them a range and then simply say what I just said. But I want you to understand, I don't really know much about the job except what I've read or what I was told by Ronnie recruiter or Rona the recruiter. I don't know what my boss would be like. Don't have a sense of the team, what the expectations are like. I just know what I've been told or what I read in an ad. So I can give you a number now, but I'm not committed to it. I can, after I do interviews, we can reconvene and I can give you a sense of the salary I'd be looking for this role. And by the way, what is the range for this position? And that becomes a way that you can deal with them if they're pushy and abrasive, okay? How wide a range should we give them? Good question, Christine. Now, whatever the bottom number is, it should be one that you'd be willing to accept. So that's always the proviso in there. I'd say a $20,000 range can work. They're not going to respond well to a $50,000 range, but a $20,000 range can work. And that's true whether you're a $95,000 a year person currently or a $200,000 a year person. So a range should be something that starts off with the premise that the lowest number is one that you'd accept. And you have to deliver that line I had mentioned to Jason, but I haven't met with, you know what I just said. So start practicing saying that when you're asked the question by, and generally it's the HR screener who's doing this. Hiring managers don't like to get their hands dirty with such questions. So what they'll do is work with the assumption of what you've told the corporate recruiter as being the valid thing to work with. But from your vantage point, you always have to give that stipulation that says, but, I haven't met my future boss, the team, heard more details about the role and responsibilities as well as expectations. Can we speak after I actually interview with the hiring manager and have a clearer idea of that? Yeah, but I need a number. Okay, I'd be looking for a range of between this and that. But I want to be clear. I'm not committed to those numbers. What I need to do in order to be more certain is get a clearer idea of, and then you go through the speech yet again, because, from your standpoint, you don't want to get tied down too early to a number because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to get you to commit to a number at a point where you don't know enough to really commit to that number. Hope that's helpful, Christine. And if it isn't, ask another question. I'm happy to answer it. See, I don't bite, at least not too hard. Let's see now. Someone asked, I added a director as a contact on LinkedIn who had posted a job I'm interested in. She accepted my request but didn't respond back. Do I reach out or just apply online? I'd reach out to her and simply say, I saw a position available at your firm that looked like it was one that you might be recruiting for or might be reporting to you. This is the role. Is that with you or is it with someone else? And then wait for the response. Now, if it's 2 days and you don't get a response, it tells me that she's not monitoring her LinkedIn messages with any regularity. That's one of the dirty little secrets of LinkedIn. I'm on all day. So from the time I log on in the morning till the time I wind down, and even then afterwards, I'll monitor things on my phone. I'm on all day, but not everyone else is. So I would follow up after a day and say, I sent a message to you. I'm sorry if I'm being pushy, but I saw this job that was advertised and looks like it might be with a group that you manage. Is that true? Could I submit my resume to you directly? And she will normally respond back at that point with an apology for not responding sooner, and then tell you exactly what to do. Okay. Let's see now. More questions I received, because I did get a bundle before. Let's see now. More questions? Yeah. I reached the second interview for a job and felt it went well, but they haven't followed up. When I inquired, they said they'd get back to me, but now the position is re-advertised. Is this normal? The answer is yes, it is normal. Why? Because systems automatically renew ads at least one time. Some platforms do it until taken down. Some organizations will make a small change to the ad, like at the end of a sentence. Like if I were working with your question, the end of the first line says they haven't followed up, and it has a period there. They might take the period out because that moves it up to the top on the job board or on LinkedIn or wherever. So yes, that's pretty normal. It doesn't mean you've been rejected. It doesn't mean that you've been chosen. It just meant that the ad renewed itself, and that's as far as it goes. They haven't made an offer to anyone else as of yet, and they still want to see more people, or the ad auto renewed and they're going to see more people. It doesn't really mean anything, okay? So what I would say to you is keep looking. Keep trying to find other roles. That will help you a lot. Do not start getting locked into one job until they've made an offer that you're willing to accept. Otherwise, you're going to waste a lot of emotional energy, like a date on Thursday, wondering if he or she is going to get a phone call from their girlfriend or boyfriend asking them out. You don't want to be that person sitting by the phone, like people sit by the phone anymore, but you know what I mean. Waiting for that call. I hope they call me and ask me out. As you can tell from this face, it's been a long time since I've been in that position. So I'll simply say, don't be sitting there waiting for them to contact you. Keep looking, okay? Let's see now. More questions. I need a job. Ooh, are employment agencies legit? Legit's the wrong word. Competent is a better word. Now, even with competent, agencies don't work for you. They work for an employer who pays them to find someone to fill a job. Job hunters think that, I sent my resume to that recruiter. They didn't get back to me. What's wrong with them? And the answer comes down to you didn't make a case for why you were qualified. So are they legitimate? Yes, but they don't work for you. You're not paying them anything. They're not there to find you a job. After all, you're not paying them to do that. And even if you did, you can't afford to pay them as much as an employer does. So the long and the short of it is, from your vantage point, they may not look legit because they're not getting in touch with you. But they are legit. It's just you're not qualified for anything that they're looking for. Why should they get in touch with you? It's a waste of their time. So remember, recruiters work for employers. Once you understand that, then it makes a lot more sense why recruiters ghost. You're stealing their time. You're going to get into an argument why they should work for you, and they don't. They work for an employer. They're not there to find you a job. They're there to fill a job. Okay. Just so you know, I'm going to go till about the half-hour mark, maybe a little bit longer, and take. Well, again, this is my last show for this year, so I'll be back Jan 7, I believe it is. Okay. So if you've got a question for me, put it in the chat so I can answer it live. Also connect with me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/IN/thebiggamehunter. Now this was written to me. Strange. What are your thoughts as a job seeker on this piece of advice? I'm not a job hunter. Don't tell people that you're looking for a job when you need a job. I'm going to, Christine, I'll come to you right after I answer this, okay? So, the person who gets ahead isn't always the smartest or work the hardest, although those are great qualities to have. People get ahead by being alert to opportunities. Sometimes they are internal, most of the time they're external. As far as whether or not you should tell people you're looking for a job, there's a school of thought that recruiters do not like to represent people who are actively looking for work. I won't go into the details of that. It's stupid. And I'll just simply say it's wrong thinking for a variety of reasons. But, you know, in this particular case, what we're talking about is you'd be missing on activating your network to help you. So it's one thing to talk about a recruiter, whether it's corporate or third party, who says, why are you looking for a job? I'm not. You reached out to me. I'm here to listen because, frankly, if you've got a better opportunity than one I'm in now, I'm happy to listen. I'd be happy to accept. But actively looking for a job, that's an assumption that you're making that isn't valid with me. And that would be the way I'd play it with them. In general, I would make sure that people knew I was open to other things, use my network, because the statistics are as many as 85% of positions are filled as a result of networking. So by not mentioning it, you're taking away that percentage of people. Don't make that mistake, okay? Now, Christine commented, FYI, I had a recruiter request a government ID to submit my application for the screening process. I did not think it was legit. The correct way to respond to that was, why is that? Why do you need a government ID? Now, if it's for a defense agency, I could see the possibility. Like if it's the U.S. Defense Department, then it's a possibility. But a government ID, I would respond by saying, I would say to them, this sounds like a potential for identity theft. And I think this is the sort of thing I should contact LinkedIn about and watch them panic. And through their reaction, you will know more than anything else. So maybe with a defense agency or a defense contractor, there's a need for a government ID. Maybe if they've made an offer and they're doing background checks and they need to confirm your identification and legal right to work in the United States, then I can see it. Most employers, after you've accepted an offer, when you're starting a new job, are going to do this because the U.S. government specifies that when they hire someone, they have to hire people with the legal right to work in the United States. And your government ID, whether it's a passport or social security card and driver's license with a picture on it, becomes a way that they can do that. But at the beginning of the recruiting process, absolutely not. Do not do that. So I'm just going to simply say, I'm Jeff Altman. Hope you found today's show helpful. If you did and you're watching on YouTube or LinkedIn, share it, leave a comment, click the like button, do something that lets people know that it was worthwhile. Also, As I mentioned before, connect with me on LinkedIn at linkedin.com/IN/the-big-game-hunter. If you need to talk, if you need someone to listen to you, you can schedule a free discovery call at thebiggamehunter.us. I'll listen. I may give a piece of advice along the way. It's not going to be full-fledged coaching. It's a 20-minute conversation that we'll have. I'm here to help. And again, next week, I'm not really going to be available because of my wife's surgery. Do it for this week. Don't procrastinate. Okay. Also, at jobsearch.community, I've got video courses, books, and guides to help you. They're at one bundled price. It works very well for folks. Even if you don't want me to coach you and you just want to get the content, you can do that there for a lower price than you would at thebiggamehunter.us, where everything is unbundled and you're paying for each individual item. Folks, I hope you have a terrific day, and most importantly, be great. See you in a couple of weeks.